Hi guys, Fred Wellman of the MeidasTouch Network, host of On Democracy with FP Wellman. Well, Ron DeSantis has been traveling the country and even the world in his non-presidential campaign for about a month now. Everyone's eagerly anticipating him to announce his run. And I think a lot of people are surprised he actually already hasn't because of all the travel and other things he's been doing. So there's been some questions around that. Who's paying for all this travel? How's he getting there? What's the purpose? Is it official travel or book travel? So as it turns out, media being media, they started asking some hard questions a few weeks ago. And the Florida legislature being the Florida legislature, well, this happened.
So Governor Ron DeSantis, you ready for this? He quietly signed a new bill making his travel records a secret. Yeah, this measure blocks law enforcement agencies from sharing any records about his security and travel, either past or in the future. It also protects the travel information of people whose services are requested by the governor. The bill is highly unusual, especially here in Florida, where public access to state records is enshrined in the state constitution. Republicans claim, though, that the move was necessary to protect the governor. We'll continue to follow that story.
Right? So as the media starts asking questions about Ron DeSantis' travel habits, the Florida legislature comes right in and creates a law, not just blocking his travel arrangements for the future, but actually backdating them all the way back to the first day he became governor, forbidding law enforcement agencies to even giving out any information about his travels, all because of his security. No other governor in this country has to have that much security. And the truth is they're just covering his ass, because here's why. Politico first had the first story a few weeks ago on his trip to Japan. Who paid for it? As it turns out, he's been traveling on private jets, Gulfstreams, Bombardiers, getting around. Now, last year, Ron DeSantis reported a personal wealth of $319,000. Now, I don't know about you guys. I couldn't afford a private jet on that kind of pay, but Ron DeSantis can. And here's why. New York Times is out the story today, this week, 2 days ago, actually. And wow, did they find a lot. Turns out they've identified 55 separate donors and wealthy individuals, mostly from Florida, who've been giving Ron DeSantis free flights on their private jets or arranging them for him. These people range from oil and gas people, builders, healthcare, insurance, people who have had business in front of the Florida government. But since it's all being held privately, it's not official business, nobody's been reporting it because at the state level, they don't really have to. It was interesting because the New York Times reporters talked to half a dozen lobbyists in Tallahassee saying they've gotten used to regularly getting calls from political aides to the governor of the state asking for free travel on jets or their clients' jets, corporate jets and private jets. And a lot of this has been funded by a mysterious dark money group, a 501c4. If you're not familiar with it, it's a nonprofit that's not supposed to do political activity, but they can take unlimited amounts of money and not report the names of their donors. These are the guys you hear about a lot taking money. This mysterious group, And to the Republic, was formed in late January. Oddly, right about the time that Ron decided he was going to try running for president. Hell of a coincidence. And they help people go to things. They've actually arranged, apparently, his visits to 8 different states, almost a dozen speaking engagements, ostensibly for his book tour. And they have sent 3 of those to South Carolina, Nevada, and Iowa, which, of course, anyone knows are early primary states. As you know, I have a big family, and that means there's usually a lot of garbage left over by the end of the week. And frankly, I used to feel really guilty about it. But then I got a Lomi. Now that I have a Lomi, it's changed the way I think about my food waste. Lomi transforms my garbage into gold at the push of a button. Lomi is a countertop electronic composter that turns food scraps into dirt in under 4 hours. Now I love composting. Plus, it's made cooking at home even more fun. There's no food wrong in my garbage smelling up the kitchen. Thanks to Lomi, I only have to take out the trash like once a week, and it's hassle-free, mess-free, no more leaking bags. So here's something cool too. I turn my waste into nutrient-rich dirt that I can feed to my plants, my lawn, and my big garden in my backyard. That means it's not going to landfills and producing methane gas. I get to help the environment, and that makes my life easier. All my food scraps, plant clippings, and even those leftovers I forgot in the back of the fridge go back into my garden. help me grow more nutritious food right in my backyard. I learned recently that food waste makes up a huge portion of our personal carbon footprint. So by reducing the amount of food I send to the landfill, I'm helping to do my part for the planet while also feeding my garden. So whether you want to start making a positive environmental impact or just grow a beautiful garden like mine, Lomi is perfect for you. So head to lomi.com/Fred and use the promo code FRED to get $50 off your Lomi. That's $50 off when you head to lomi.com/Fred and use promo code FRED at checkout. Thank you, Lomi, for sponsoring this episode of the show. So Ron's been using this extended non-presidential campaign for his book tour to travel the country, making his case why he should be president. I mean, of course, you've seen the videos to how he actually sucks at it. I mean, he has no personality whatsoever. But the real clincher is, who's paying for all this? Who's reporting this? It's gotten kind of ridiculous. You know that Spider-Man meme, right? Where all three Spider-Men are pointing at each other? That's what you get when you ask people who's paying for this. When you ask the state to report the money, they said, oh, well, it's not us. It's official business. It's not official business. When you go to the campaign, they say, well, it's not us. That's the nonprofit. When you go to the nonprofit, of course, they're a dark money group. They're like, hey, we ain't got to tell you. The whole thing is crooked as hell. He and Princess Casey have been flying the world for free, getting what kind of deals? I mean, it makes Clarence Thomas look like an amateur at this point that he's doing all these things. The good news is people are trying to find out. New York Times did their job once again. That's why they're the paper of record for much of their history, right? I mean, 55 donors, they dug that up. The way they dug that up is good journalism. They dug it up using political campaign reports, corporate reports, and flight tracking data, which brings us to, of course, there's a young man named Jack Sweeney, who is a student at the University of Central Florida. You may know him. He got in trouble because he created a Twitter account called Elon's Jet, and he was tracking Elon's jet movements automatically. He created a bot to track his jet movements using FAA flight records. Well, the good news is Jack has rolled in hot to track Ron DeSantis' travel. Of course, following privacy guidelines, according to Twitter, he's giving it a one-day notice. But if you follow at DeSantis Jet, young Jack Sweeney's got a new Twitter account to keep track of it. Now, it only probably keeps track of his official plane, but he's not limited to just that. So who freaking knows? But the whole thing smells, right? The whole thing smells bad. And this is just what we got used to now. We just got accepting that these Republican political operatives are just going to do whatever they want. You know, DeSantis has hired some really shady guys. Specifically a guy named Jeff Rowe. There's a story in the Washington Post about Jeff Rowe this week. Jeff has become one of the number one strategist and consultant for Republican campaigns. He had Glenn Youngkin, Ted Cruz. He's been around for decades. He was originally here right from Missouri, and he is a dirty player. I've had personal experience with him in my previous work. And he's backing Ron, you know, just about the same time that Ron had this mysterious C4 that paid for all his travel up here. He's dirty just like everybody else. So when you say, well, at least DeSantis is not Trump, I mean, is he? He's just as dirty, but just as craven too. So we'll keep an eye on it for you here at the MeidasTouch Network as Ron DeSantis continues his quest to be the next president of the United States. In the meantime, I hope you'll catch my show Friday night, 11 o'clock Eastern, here on the MeidasTouch Network. That's on Democracy with FP Wellman. We'll talk to you soon.
Hey, Meidas Mighty. Love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram at MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.